Welcome to episode 4 of Savage Discourse.
Welcome.
I almost got the name wrong.
I saw that.
Did you see my face stop a little bit?
Yeah.
That was scary to give the name of of your brand, of your label, to get it wrong.
I know. We'd have to start all the way over.
Oh man, we can't do that.
No, not
We've
at this
come
point.
too far.
We don't have we already rented out the studio. We don't.
Yeah, it's really expensive. It's like $800 a month.
A month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's whatever my rent is.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, we can't do that.
No, we can't go back. So welcome to episode 4 of Savage Discourse. It's John.
And Kyle.
And we're here to talk with you, at you, next to you, beside you, inside of you. And so last week we talked about living with uncertainty, and that was episode 3, and ways to resolve that, how to handle the feeling of that, and different things that happen in our lives that ultimately have no control over. This week we're talking about something it's kind of icky.
It is icky.
It's not fun.
It's something you have control over, though.
Yeah, oh, you do. It's
Yeah.
it's like the opposite of last week. It's something that is not fun to talk about, but I think it can be really cathartic and helpful. So this week we're talking about excuse me.
You don't have the thing, do you?
No.
Okay.
The C word?
Yeah.
No.
I do.
Oh.
No,
Oh no, Kyle.
it's
We have to go back. We have to reset this
Start
day.
it over.
Reset the cast where no one has the C word.
Okay.
Anyway, like Tom Cruise in The Edge of Tomorrow. Just watched a thing on that. So anyway, so today this week we're talking about cutting the anchor. So what I think that indicates is that you can stay afloat, because if you cut the anchor, you're not being dragged down. But Kyle says that cutting the anchor keeps you stationary. Or it doesn't.
No,
it allows you to
that's
drift.
not how anchors work. If the anchor's holding you there, it's not going to take you under, because the anchor's supposed to go down and just hold you there. You cut the anchor so you can keep moving, not so you can
I
stay
think that
afloat.
the anchor, I don't know if they touch the seafloor or if they dangle, and the buoyancy of the ship keeps them aloft on the waves. So it makes me wonder if this metaphor holds up or if it breaks down.
Well, if you have an anchor that is too girthy for your ship and you throw it over, that's just a pretty bad design. You know what I mean?
I would just rip your ship in half.
Yeah,
and
it's
try-
going to
you
pull
drop
you
it
under. You're like, oh, we got to cut the anchor. We're going to go to the floor. I think you cut the anchor so you can keep moving. If it's like
Okay.
stuck on something down there and you can't pull it up, you know what I mean?
Okay, I like that. I'm willing to ride. I'm willing to ride. I'll vibe with you. I'll rap on that.
Dope.
So this week we're going to be talking about cutting the anchor to either stay afloat or to keep moving.
What?
I just like that we have different interpretations of it. And as Kyle drinks from his marathon gas station Mountain Dew mug that's literally can hold like a gallon of coffee.
I have a gallon of coffee currently. And, well, I did at the beginning.
I am in absolute awe of you.
Look how much is left.
Oh my God. Kyle, your body constituency, your water weight is like 66 2/3 energy drink.
Dude, I think that's why I was having chest pains while I was running.
Were you drinking coffee before running?
Yeah, only coffee, like no water. And today I did only water, no coffee. Perfectly fine, smooth sailing.
I think you cracked your Da Vinci code of why you were feeling so terrible. You were starving. You were dehydrating your body.
Yeah, turns out if you drink a gallon of coffee before and during your run, you might have a heart attack.
Well, and so that's a type of toxicity in your body.
Oh.
You see what I did?
Oh, yeah, we're doing something here.
Yeah, we got something to talk about. So toxicity is, when we think of cutting the anchors, what that is kind of a very cheap $2 metaphor for is cutting out the toxicity in your life. And in this particular episode, we're talking about people and how people can become toxic, much like the over-caffeinated jogger who's having heart problems or chest pains. Having toxic people in your life can send you into a cardiac arrest of sorts.
Whoa. Whoa. That was good.
Thank you.
You're like a wizard with words.
I'm a Wizord. A wizard. Actually, I think that's disingenuous. I believe they call me a genius. Sorry, that's a Bo Burnham joke. He's like, I'm always pegged as a comic, which I think is really disingenuous because I'm a genius, but something like that. So this week we're talking about toxicity as it applies to people in our lives and to a lesser degree, institutions and things that we choose to participate in, like work and different responsibilities we have. So what does toxicity mean to you, Kyle? What is that anchor? What does it mean to you, that anchor that we're using as our go-to?
Well, I would say anyone that is honestly just making you worse off. You know what I mean? Like mostly they have a problem that's projecting onto you, and it's because they won't work on themselves. It's kind of bringing you down. You know what I mean?
Okay. So projecting onto you. So you mean you're getting wrapped up in their vortex of insecurity, of just, or poor performance, or just their toxic kind of just. And I think we should maybe define toxicity as it applies to people. But for right now, just their personality, like just, or any relationship you have that just kind of drags you down. Yeah.
Anything that's making you worse off.
Okay. Yeah, because social relationships, biologically, evolutionarily, I mean, we're supposed to be supportive. We're pro-social creatures. We're supposed to be helpful to each other and uplifting. And so, yeah, so I think that's pretty similar to mine, toxic, in that it's kind of like when you have an interaction with another person, whichever lens you choose to look through, it's kind of like a mutual supportive interaction. You know, obviously different dynamics hold different things, and different roles that we wear as like parent or teacher or employee, you know, they kind of dictate the dynamic. But I think anytime you have an interaction with, I would say not just one interaction, but like they have like a pattern of constant, where when you go in, your bucket is less full than it was before, or your bucket is more full, but it's full of toxic sewer water.
It's kind of like a one-way relationship.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I resonate with that. I think for me, toxicity is definitely included in that dynamic where it feels like you give to somebody and it should be, you know, social relationships and social exchanges are by definition reciprocal. You know, I'm communicating with you, you're communicating back, I'm listening, there's an exchange of ideas, and that extends to like, you know, doing favors for each other and giving each other gifts, and not that there's any expectation of remuneration there, but there's always kind of that back and forth. But it seems like for some reason, some people, you know, there's an element to their back and forth that does not break even, or that adds more weight to you in your daily kind of burden, stress, anxiety. And it's not a mutual or mutually benefit. There's not mutual entailment. It's not bilateral. It feels unilateral, like you said, where you give and they just kind of take. But I would say it's also not just like people socially loafing and taking. Like sometimes people give a lot, but what they give is kind of like, it's kind of like a McDonald's burger, like
relevant,
very relevant to my diet, where there's substance, but it's bad for you, and it's processed, and it's toxic, and it weighs in your stomach, and it creates this lump in your belly, and you slowly, over the course of years of enjoying that false positive, that falsely good burger, you slowly decline.
Yeah.
Would you say that tracks on?
Yeah, definitely. Like people that do things for you and then just expect things in return, or constantly bring up all the good they've done for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very manipulative. Those burgers, man, they'll get you.
Every time, those burger people.
The people.
The beeper.
You've got to be care of the people. You got to be cautious of them.
Those double quarter pounder peoples.
Oh. And let's just delineate here. We are not talking about people of size. We're not using that as a reference. We're talking specifically about the lunchables of human beings, which is again relevant to my diet as a grown man, a 31-year-old man. And it is. I'm saying that in full honesty. I eat Lunchables once a month. I have to literally prevent myself because I will. I'm sure it takes off like a decade of my life every time I eat, because I don't just eat one or two. I've got a whole system designed where I eat a Lunchable and I buy two pizza Lunchables and a nachos Lunchable. And then you dip the crafted Italiano this perfect circle of a pizza into that processed delicious cheese. And I do that in like 3 sets of 3.
Yeah, I'm almost positive you could make something that tastes better and is better for you if you like Googled it. You know what I mean?
What is that? What is that word?
Google.
Yeah, what is that?
It's a big old number.
How would I apply a number to my dietary needs?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a search engine.
I
It's
think
based on a number.
Oh, okay. I felt like you were trying to like geometrically, like using sacred geometry to help my diet.
No,
I
I'm
wish
saying,
I have enough sacred geometric tattoos. If that was the case, I would be the pinnacle of health.
when are you gonna get a Lunchable tattoo?
As soon as we get our first sponsorship.
Ooh. Well, wouldn't it be? Why would you get a Lunchable tattoo after we get a monster?
Oh yeah, that seems like that's bad cross merge. Yeah, that's a bad idea. That's
well. Here, I'll get the Mott's one. You can get the Lunchable one in anticipation.
Well, we have a lot of work to do on the back end to make sure that we get that sponsorship.
Yeah, but not to anger our future sponsors, but you could definitely come up with something healthier and better tasting.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that their products are the pinnacle of scientifically designed health, and nothing in there has preservatives or MSG or anything. I'm sure it's all very natural, good food.
Yeah, it's gluten free.
Yeah, probably vegan friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. It's got the whole package. So, this is great. This is a great kind of a tangent, because all of this that we're talking about is very toxic to us biologically and medically and nutritionally. And so, I think we have interpersonal toxic relationships, and sometimes it takes years, as we're going to talk about a little bit. Sometimes it takes years to discover that the relationships that we have, eventually become anchors that weigh us down and keep us in the same place, or pull us beneath the waves, depending on how you wish to interpret the anchors.
It's not going to pull you under. It's going to keep you from progressing. It's not how anchors work, John.
I don't know if there's any seamen out there, any naval, anyone in the SEALs, anyone who's ever been perhaps on a dinghy or a skiff. If you'd want to write in a comment or tell us exactly the physics of anchors, I think that we would both find it educational.
I feel like I got it.
Kyle's just stared at me. It's like, no, I think it's for you, John. It's not for me.
That's fine. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe anchors are designed to pull the ship underwater.
Yeah, well, we'll let the experts have their
Yeah.
we'll have the experts have their say.
Yeah.
So there's interpersonal relationships that are toxic, but I feel like there's also toxic workspace. I feel like that's a big thing. You see a lot of articles and research being done on burnout and toxicity, and kind of the rapport that can be damaged from coworkers in an environment due to them being toxic people
Or supervisors.
That's very right.
Like that famous quote that employees don't quit jobs, they quit bad management.
Yes, that's a good one. No, that's amazing. And I think that, you and I both, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of those experiences, have definitely been there, and how the toxicity of whether it's a coworker or a supervisor or even just a location, maybe all those things together can create a world of anxiety and unease and even depression for anybody. Excuse me, anyone who works. Got to cut that up.
No, we don't.
Okay, I'm sorry. I almost threw up on the microphone. How that can create just a terrible world for an employee and lead them to quit or terminate relationships with an environment or place that they used to love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I agree.
Okay. Well, let's talk about business first before we drill down into the personal. So, I don't know. You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. I've talked about this before, but let's see. At my last job, the last time I was employed, all those years ago.
Yeah. I remember that. The before times.
Yeah, before the apocalypse.
In the land of darkness.
Oh, it was kind of the land of darkness.
Oh, I didn't even mean for it to be that way, but it really, I was using that as like a eschatological end of the world metaphor.
Yeah. But
which is not scatological. Those are two different words, very different meanings.
I've never heard of the second one, but I feel like I can use
Scat?
context clues. I've heard of that.
Sorry, continue.
All right. So yeah, down at this last place I used to work, this adventure park. Honestly, the coworkers were the best part. There was pretty much no toxicity between the coworkers, or at least not to me, because I was like the manager. So if there was toxicity, it wasn't in my direction. So I didn't see it. But
that's good.
My problem was with the main boss, not my direct supervisor, but the guy who gave himself the title of executive vice president.
That's very humble.
Yeah, if that,
I'm not the president, but I am executively in the assistant to the president.
Yeah, he married the owner's daughter and convinced them he could run the place. So, yeah, he was definitely the most toxic individual I've ever worked for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just kind of was like a fountain of negative vibes and energy, just polluting everyone around.
Mm-hmm. He's very insecure, he could tell, and he just kind of put that on everyone else. He had definitely worked his whole life to get to this position and was very eager to make everyone know that he had more power than them. So pretty much the definition of toxic leadership.
So kind of the old school example of, rattling your saber because you have the ability to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that as far as leadership goes, nothing turns people off of your authenticity and your trueness of a leadership other than when you have to remind people that you're in that leadership position and of the power and the perks and the benefits and the reason that comes with that.
Yeah.
That's I feel like that is definitely a byproduct or a symptom of insecurity.
Oh yeah, because he was insecure.
Okay.
He was a tiny man.
Oh,
I mean, probably still is. I haven't seen him in a few months.
You don't think he's gone through a late in life growth spurt?
Probably not. He drove a big old truck.
No.
I mean, like literally just to the T.
He had all the symptoms of just being dealt a terribly small hand in life.
Yeah, he slowly fired all of the men that were in leadership positions and hired women because it made him feel like he had more authority over them.
Wow.
Yeah. He got down to just me and my direct supervisor, which he really couldn't afford to fire. But we both just quit on him. So, yeah.
Well, and that's kind of the resolution to what we're going to talk about is that when everything else fails, sometimes you just have to cut the anchor. You just have to cut so you can move on or not drown.
Yeah, and the longer you're in those relationships, the harder it is to really cut that anchor.
It really is, and I think there's several reasons, like the fallacy of like sunk cost, like the more resources and time and effort, the more that you're waiting for that paycheck to come that's going to make it all worth it, or that return on your investment to say like, oh, you're not this, everything that I've been doing has been for this reason. Everything's good now because you gave me this, you have now given me some indication, and I think that people who are toxic do tend to give us those small snippets where it feels like almost like an abusive relationship where, like, oh, they say they're never going to do it again and they love me. Like they come back and they show us some less toxic side. And by comparison, it seems more palatable. So we're like, oh, well, they're definitely not like this all the time. This can't be what they're like. So, well, we'll just keep going. And I see the real you in there.
Yeah.
And that ultimately becomes a tactic for them to continue to absorb your resources.
Yeah, no, that got me for a while because I worked with him closely for like the last year and some change I was there, because before that I wasn't like in management, so I didn't really like to deal with him too much. There was a barrier between me and him, but once I actually started working with him, I was like, oh, this guy sucks. But then there'd be glimmers of hope in there, and I don't know. Eventually, it just got to the point where I was like, "This is not worth it at all."
And I hate that. It feels terrible when somebody's coming into a situation where there's been turnover in management or supervisors, and they come in and they present themselves. They're playing the face game where they're super charismatic and they're fun and they're very detail oriented and they make relationships with everybody. And then the second that their boss leaves, and several weeks later, whenever they settle into the position, that facade just kind of fades away into the background, and the horns, as one of my favorite bands and songs from Bayside says, your horns came out so gradually. I love it.
That's nice.
It's true. In some cases they come out very immediately and they were not very well hidden to begin with, but yeah, that is kind of unfortunate whenever someone comes to a sinking ship, since we're using this metaphor, to be the captain and pilot it, and then they just kind of drive it further into the rocks, into the shallows.
Yeah.
That's hard to endure, especially if were somebody who is there for a long period of time and we're dumping and investing all of these resources and your time and your passion into it. So, well, thank you for sharing that. I definitely feel like I've had similar experiences like that. Without going too in depth or anything, I've definitely been exposed to several people in leadership positions, some that I'm directly reported to, that toxicity that they had, which in my opinion, was a combination of narcissism and, kind of being a rank rider, trying to get up to the top, and kind of just being, and it seems unfair to say because I'm not a diagnostician, I'm not their therapist, which they probably do need that, but, that there was probably a little bit of sociopathy, maybe some antipathy towards humanity there. And I don't know what their history was. Maybe they were just trying to survive, but that toxicity became... it really in a real way, it impregnated me, and it got in my head, and it really kind of I responded to that toxicity with this side of myself that I don't consider true to my being and to who I am, especially in a professional setting. And it just turned me into this kind of monster whenever I had any interactions with that individual. And it brought out the worst sides of me, which were reactionary and volatile and disrespectful. And I would refute and argue about different points, which I should have done professionally given some of the things that were occurring. But obviously, I should have taken the high road and done it and played ball in a more respectful way. But I guess that's just, I get that from my parents.
That's not a bad thing, honestly.
No, I think it's not what I did. It's how I did it and how it made me feel and how it stayed with me, which is kind of the insidiousness, like those burger people. They get inside of you and they slowly, they clog your arteries. They hurt your heart. They eventually cause neurological malfunctions due to blood clots and what is it called when you have a neurological clot? It's
an aneurysm.
Yeah, they cause those microaneurysms. So it really shorts your system, and it definitely did me. And that's kind of the most acute example I have. Everyone I think has that, but in terms of the business world, that was me. And I know that those people are always going to exist. They're everywhere because they're really good at playing the game in quotation marks. But it just sucks because it really can sour and poison your passions and your drives and desires to further the mission of a company, which is a lot to ask anybody to do. Is that like, hey, set your values, set your willpower, set your set your autonomy aside, and come join us and put all your effort in your life and energy. We give so much of our time and our lives to other people. It sucks when that investment is just it's like you labor all these winters to build up this stockpile of these grains to get your community through the winter, to use like a medieval example. Jesus. And it's just like it gets, you have one person who slowly starts poisoning the stock, and then before long your everything that you invested in that is just rotted away, and it leaves you feeling empty and like you are burned out and want to do something else.
Yeah, no, it's definitely left a bad taste in my mouth with corporations, which is what he was trying to turn it into. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it makes me
a little bit about that.
Yeah, it makes me want to kind of just work for small business or something.
Yeah, somewhere where, and that was kind of And that's a good segue, into this, and not into the next actual topic, but that was part of is the design that we created for this location was to be very family oriented and to be very close knit, and that we were all family members and we were a unit. And then that kind of slowly got eroded. The years of effort we put into that got eroded away. And yeah, it's really, it's better. Yeah, I think it's better being in a smaller place where you can communicate directly with your superiors and you have a lot more say. And you can really, there's not all these buffers and all these in between and the policy and the pragmatics. You can just go to them and be like, hey, I don't know if this is working. Let's talk about this. And they're like, sure. Mm-hmm. I like that horizontal kind of rather than the vertical.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. That is what I'm a fan of now as well.
Well, shit. Let's if we started a company, what would our company be?
I got a couple ideas.
Oh, let's hear those ideas.
I don't know if I should say them.
Yeah. You should hold on to open up your bag of marbles and put your favorite cat's eyes aside and just leave the more opaque, glossy ones that you can share.
Okay. Got you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm ready.
So
hit me with it.
You're eating a burrito, right?
I knew you were going to use this one. I knew this was coming. Okay, I'm eating a burrito.
All right. So when you're eating a burrito, shit always falls out the back of it, right?
Yeah, there's no solution for that.
Yeah, I know. Let's act like plates don't exist.
Okay.
All right. So what I propose is we make a tortilla object that is like a bib that you can wear, okay? So you put it on your neck. It goes down onto the table or the plate if you want to be fancy.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. Is this bib, what is its what are the materials that it's comprised of?
It's a flour tortilla.
Okay, so it's not cloth.
No, it's a flour tortilla.
This bib is made out of flour tortilla.
It is edible, which is what we're getting to. So all of the schmutz, if you will, falls out of the ass end of the burrito.
The burrito schmutz.
And it lands inside of your bib, all right? And when you're done eating the regular burrito, you just take this bib off, roll it up, you got yourself another burrito. What we would call it... I know. What we would call it...
That's amazing.
The bib burrito. Isn't that beautiful?
Kyle, I'm gonna say something that may shock and astound you. That is the best idea I've ever heard.
Yay.
I found validation from my friend.
Thank God. We should edit that out so no one steals it now.
Okay.
You know how pissed I'm going to be if I see a Biburrito commercial on at like 3 a.m.?
On like the Law Network or like the Judge Judy channel?
Yeah. I'm going to, whatever.
No. We'll make sure we'll secure all those domains and all the trademarks so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay. How much is it to like... What? It's not copyright.
For an amazing idea such as that, I would assume that we would have to pay no fewer than a lot of money.
Oof. Okay.
That's as much information as I have on copyright and trademarks.
I think if we both
and patents.
If we both get jobs again and work for a really long time, we can probably come up with that amount of money.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
So first go back to work for the man, and then we shall start our own patent company.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Oh, we're starting a patent company.
Well,
if we start a patent company, then we could get this patent for free.
Oh my God, that's so smart. Cut out the middleman, cut out the BS, and just create endless ideas.
So how much would a patent be for a patent company?
I don't know how the inception on that works. Who's in charge of that? So that's kind of the business side of things. And we can leave that in or cut it out. That's your own IP.
No, we'll leave that.
Okay.
That's okay.
You're willing to float that out into the universe?
Yeah, I got a couple more ideas.
Yeah, no, that's why I told you. Keep those big cat's eyes, those really pretty big ones off to the side.
I got to tell you one later that I'm 99% sure is idiotic, but if it's not, then it's gonna be big.
Kyle, I don't think anything that could potentially be life-changing would be considered idiotic.
Wait till you hear it.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, so the next kind of much more personal domain that we wanted to talk about regarding cutting anchors and toxicity is the personal realm, is our own individual relationships. with people over the course of our lifespan, and at different developmental stages in our lives, and what that has meant, and how long it took us to realize that they were toxic relationships, and how much we were really suffering, and instead of benefiting, really kind of just malingering under these terrible circumstances with these individuals who very much need help in some way in therapy, and then that can't be us, unfortunately, despite our best intentions. But so yeah, you went first on the business one. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Talk about the story of my life. That's One Direction.
Which direction?
Hopefully the right one. Given that there is literally as many directions, geometrically as existing the degree of angles, it's hard to know which direction to take. So, so I'm going to talk about some relationships I've had over the course of my life. And it just occurred to me that we didn't even consider the domain of. You were going to talk about romantic relationships, but I didn't consider talking about them, and I've got several of those.
Why didn't that pop in your head?
I don't know, because I'm very I get locked into different categories.
All right,
I'm categorical when I think. Okay, so I had a friend growing up who, and actually this is a rare case where the toxicity removed itself.
I'm sorry. Every time you say toxicity, the System of a Down lyrics play in my head.
Toxicity.
Literally every time you've said that so far.
Toxicity.
All right, anyway.
Yo!
That's where I get to, and then I snap out of it.
Disorder. Okay. So please don't sue us. I love you, System of a Down. You guys got me through. You guys have produced great music to rebel against and rebel with. So, one of my earliest friendships, this is one of those cases where the individual who is causing the kind of the anchor effect. Ooh, we can call it the anchor effect.
Oh, that's nice.
I like that. I hate that we got halfway before I coined that term. Let's
just go back and edit it in a couple times.
Okay. Just be like, anyway, the anchor effect. Blah, blah, blah. So it's awkward audio on top of the audio. So, I had a friend that I grew up with, and we played a lot of sports together growing up, and played soccer, and I would go visit this person's house, and that his family had a big farm, and they had a bunch of chickens, and I love birds, obviously, and we would go play, and this family was also a little bit more rural, so I grew up in Corydon, Indiana, who's in the pilot we talked about is the only thing it has to its name is it was the site of a historic Civil War battle. And so it doesn't have a lot going. It just has a lot of very white people, and
it's in Indiana.
And I don't think I can overstate that it's in Indiana. And this family was like the prototypical Indiana, family. They had a big farm. The parents. I don't remember exactly what their occupations were, but I think he was either a driver or a construction worker or something, and the mom worked in a school or a hospital. And their one of their siblings is one of their progeny. I'm trying to be as generic as possible. Is one of my friends, and we were best friends. We did everything together for years and years. And
oh, Jesus Christ, John is down.
Got me choked up.
Oh my God,
dude!
I don't think that's what they mean when they say choked up.
Oh, are you okay?
I don't know.
I'm okay.
I'm traumatized.
I'm sorry.
After that display.
So, sorry.
What happened?
I don't do this. I went down the wrong, my cloaca went down the wrong pipe.
You were just talking.
I know. Anyway, it shows you how deeply ingrained this trauma is.
Did you just breathe in a word or something?
I sucked in a word in the wrong pipe. Words are supposed to come out, not go in.
That's true.
So this friend we had, and then I don't remember, I think it was around middle school, and let me paint a picture of me for you. Kyle, let me paint a picture of you just right now.
We got some time.
Hold the presses. Let me just stop this cast. I just want to paint a picture of you. Any audio you hear from this point on has been edited so that I could paint a picture of Kyle. Do you like this picture of you I drew?
Yo, that is a great picture.
Thank you.
It only took you 3 hours?
Oh, dude, not even.
We should put that in a museum.
Oh, thanks, Kyle. I'm going to put it over here.
Put it next to your plate on the wall.
Okay. Here. So let me paint a picture of me for you. So I had my father was still combing my hair. So he would I didn't expect that to get you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. He was still combing my hair and spraying water, and he gave me the 90s like split in the middle.
Okay.
I either had the 90s split in the middle or I had the comb over. It was probably the comb over because that's how he did his hair as a academic professional. And why did you laugh so
I just
hard?
don't think my parents have ever combed my hair. Is that a normal thing? Who's in the wrong here? Is it me or you?
I think it's probably me.
Okay.
I think it's because I didn't know anything about fashion or how to make myself look kempt. So my dad and my mom were probably like, "Oh my God, just hit him!" Like they would just spray my hair, do it over, and then I would go to school. And I was so that wasn't even on my radar. Fashion wasn't even.
Okay. Well, your parents were like distinguished and stuff, so it was important for you to look good.
I think when I hit middle school, my parents were like, "Our kid's gonna get bullied if he doesn't figure his shit out."
No.
And
My parents went with the let him get bullied route.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's fine. It made me who I am.
No, we should actually talk about that on another podcast episode. Bullying.
Okay. I mean, I didn't really get bullied, but I did. The potential was there.
Let me if the picture I'm painting you is any indication, let it be known that my days were filled with hell, right with hell. So anyway, I think it was around middle school where I started to individuate the psychological process of developing your psychology and moving away from your parents' traditions and their values and becoming yourself. And I just remember going into the bathroom just a random day, and he was in kind of the group. You know, all the bathrooms there were like 6-seaters because they were in middle school. And I remember him pulling me aside and just being like, "Hey man, look, like we just can't, we can't hang out anymore." And I was just I don't even know. Like, I was just kind of like, the picture you see of people when, like, an explosion, this open mouth, like eyes, just like, what? And he was like, "We can't be friends anymore. You're you and I'm me," which was, I think if I read between the lines, was saying, you're a loser, you're a nerd, you're weird, you're not the kind of people that I am, and we can't be friends anymore. We could still like talk, but like, we can't really hang out anymore. And then just left the bathroom. And of course, people were coming and going, and I was just in a statue trauma mode, just like, on the verge of crying in a middle school bathroom because my best friend told me that we can't be friends anymore. So, and later in life, it turns out that that individual and family actually cut one of their own sons out of their family life because he turned out to be gay. So in this case, I really think that the toxicity removed itself from my life.
Yeah, no, it's good. You didn't have to do it years later.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have to cut that anchor. So yeah, that's kind of my first tale.
Okay.
What do you think? What do you think about that? What do you have? Have you ever had an experience like that?
Not really to where, honestly, not to where I've been cut out, but I had a best friend growing up. And looking back on it now, it's very easy to see the problems that were there. But I was like 10 and he was like 17.
I did not know that was the age disparity.
Yeah, so it turns out he probably was a little underdeveloped mentally.
Do you think he had a diagnosis or something, or
not professionally?
Okay.
I don't believe he ever saw anyone. His parents may have been related. I don't know.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I grew up in Kentucky, which isn't much better than Indiana. So it's
Okay, I'm gonna let you believe that.
Well, yeah, I guess I never lived there. Anyway, so yeah, we were best friends growing up. He's my next door neighbor. He pretty much lived at my house all the time. I mean, he was over all the time because his house was shit with his possibly related parents. And
I feel bad for him. He didn't have a chance.
No, he didn't. He really didn't. And unfortunately, as a 10-year-old, I didn't really see. You
didn't grasp the complexity of the situation.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this older dude wants to hang out. But yeah, he's different. And then as we got older, it started to become clearer to me that something was off. And because of his problems or whatever, he was pretty depressed and pretty drug dependent. And after a while, it got to the point to where every time we hung out, he was really just talking about how hopeless his life was and it really, as bad as it sounds, he's really just bringing down the mood all the time.
Yeah.
And like I tried to help him for like years after I realized what was going on, like just trying to give him his options, try to talk him through it, be like, what do you think the problem is? How do you think you can fix it? And every time he was just like, there's no hope. It's over. I will never be anything more than this.
Wow.
All I have is weed.
Wow.
Yeah.
He gave up.
Yep. And
or was unaware of the resilience of his ability to overcome that. But
yeah, I mean it's hard to deal with that stuff, especially
Yeah.
I mean he was older than me, but he was still young.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't at that age dealing with that with no sort of support and with a very high dependency on weed. I mean, it's pretty hard to pull yourself out of that when you can always just smoke weed and feel a little better for the moment.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
and so then one day around the time I was like 18, maybe 19. No, probably 18. He was hanging out at my house. And he stayed the night. I don't remember the context, but I left for the day. Came back. He left after a while, and I looked on my computer and saw that he was looking up porn, like pretty raunchy porn, and he jerked off into a bunch of Clorox wipes. And yeah. And
I did not know.
didn't talk to him after that anymore. that was the end of that.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty fitting bookend for a tumultuous,
I was like, we can probably call it here. But looking back,
I will be sending your people a bill for those Clorox wipes. I do expect those to be repaid in full.
Looking back on it, I definitely wish I would have handled it differently instead of just like cutting communication, actually having a conversation like, hey, this is why I will not be answering your calls anymore.
Yeah.
Because I kind of just disappeared.
I will say that I think given the circumstances at your developmental level and your knowledge of life and adaptive repertoires for skills and different coping, I think you probably did the best thing you could have done. I think maybe if you were 10, 20 years older,
Jesus.
10, 13 years older, maybe things could have been different. But
Yeah.
I think at that point in your life, and that's really how I felt too. Like I felt, in a very different way, like you did what you had to do, and I didn't pursue that relationship that the guy decided to end our friendship, and it was hard. I think it was hard, and I'm sure that you missed your friend, and that it was not. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I'm talking for both of us. But
honestly, no. At that point, I did not.
Okay,
I guess
That's fair.
Like I said, I've been kind of just hanging on for the last like year or two, hoping that he was going to turn it around, and it got worse, and then he jerked off into a bunch of Clorox wipes into my house.
It's great. It's good that's like that happened when he was 17, because if you had like a friend as an adult and you had a family, like let's say you're 40 years old and you have a friend that you've had for decades, and then you knew things weren't going well, and you come home and there's like seamany, jerk off Clorox wipes in the kitchen where your kids eat and everything, that'd be a very different conversation.
Yeah. And like,
I think it was good at that point in your life that was kind of the final nail.
Yeah, I mean, but why Clorox wipes? Like, we had toilet paper. Like, you could anything.
I think that those Clorox wipes should be seen as a symbol for the harshness of his life, that he did not know the comforts of a gentle 2-ply toilet paper for a personal. For personal self-stimulation. He only knew the burning, bleachy feel of life.
Yeah. Hope he's okay, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, we'll say that. So my next friend, I actually had to cut things off. So without going into any detail, obviously to protect everybody and just to kind of give my personal experience, this was a friend I had known lifelong. And when they were about adolescent age, they did something really terrible. They just did something really terrible, and that information did not come out until much later in their life. And this has been a lifelong friend that I've grown up with. And when that information came to light, it had a lot of repercussions that vibrated throughout the community, throughout that individual's relationships, and once that information came to light for me, it kind of everything clicked for me. And so this is kind of one of those tales of toxicity over a long period of time where you kind of know something isn't right. You don't feel good about the relationship that you have. Where I started actively avoiding hanging out with this individual outside of a party setting, or a social gathering setting. I no longer sought like the individual counsel of their friendship like we do, or like, a healthy relationship does. And I should have known then and there that I was responding behaviorally to something that I was detecting subconsciously. And eventually, after all this information came out, I basically I dropped it. I said, this kind of confirms my experiences over the course of my life with this person, and I no longer wish to be friends with him. And I wish I could say that it provided a sense of weight lifting and clarity, but it really didn't. It really makes me feel conflicted and ambivalent because I cared about that person for a really long time. Even though our relationship I know this person for almost 25 years, and even though for the last 10 years we had been drifting very far away, and I was doing that, and they were responding to that and responding, negatively to that, and that, it brings me a sense. It doesn't bring me a sense of anything other than just, I wish that person would seek out the help that they need to fix and repair what they need to get the help they need.
Because from my understanding, they're kind of in denial about that.
Yeah, that there was an issue and that. Yeah, that's and whether it be narcissism, whether it be sociopathy, whether it just be, the fact that they were raised a certain way to not seek out counsel, that it was a sign of weakness, whether it was just, I'm fine and everyone else is different, which is kind of a problem with access to disorders, mood and personality disorders. I really wish I truly, even though we've been joking and saying a lot of things like, I do wish nothing but, I wish good things for them and that they get truly the help that they need, because that friendship used to be so meaningful. And then I think as we both grew up, we grew in two different paths, and due to a multitude of factors in that person's life, I think that they just ended up being the way they were. And I hate that it took, an investment of that long. And then it makes you, when you find out something like that, whether it's, something that happened years ago, or whether you figure something out at work, or like somebody finally shows you a trait that you always kind of suspected, it really kind of makes you devalue every experience you have with them. Unfortunately, It has that kind of like that wilting effect where like the vine comes back from the flower bloom and like rots all the way to the base, and it ruins every, kind of memory you have on the way down as it's rotting. And that's really hard, and it really sucks. It's really, really sad, and it's unfortunate. But that's my sad tale of woe.
Yeah, that's a downer.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I haven't even gotten to my final one yet.
Is that worse? Oh, it is worse. Oh no. Okay, cool. My turn.
Go ahead and put your hand in the sandwich of misery and suffering, and go ahead and grab yourself some buns.
Yeah, this is a dark episode. Okay.
All right, here we go.
So let's talk about love.
All
right. What?
Teach me.
Okay, so I used to work in a bar.
I remember that.
You remember that?
I remember that.
So I used to work in a bar. I started off as a busser, and then became a server, and then a bartender for like 3 days, and then a bar back, which basically restocks the bar. And somewhere in this time, I met a young lady, and she was cool. Yeah, she was cool. I liked her. She's really cool.
I think at the time we were all very happy for your relationship. It seemed good, and you deserve to be happy and find someone that you clicked with. But
and we clicked really well.
That's not where the story ends.
That is not where the story ends. We clicked really well all through the end, and I mean we still talk occasionally, and she's cool, but as far as the relationship goes, it was pretty toxic. Because at first it was all cool. We were drinking all the time because we worked in a bar. And in my experience, I hope you don't take offense to this if any of you all do work in the service industry, but about 90% of the people in the service industry that I ran into had some sort of heavy dependency problem. I know.
I am offended.
John. Yeah, usually alcohol.
I'm not surprised by that. That kind of corroborates what I've heard too.
Yeah. Usually either alcohol or cocaine. Usually cocaine, actually.
Oh yeah, rowdy powder. You gotta if you're working long nights, you gotta stay up and moving.
Yeah, I got some stories about that from other people, not me. But
We'll see.
we'll see.
Just kidding.
So it turned out she was a pretty heavy alcoholic, which at the
Chemical
time
dependency.
I drank a lot of alcohol too. And my my saying to justify it was, if you're under 25, you can't be an alcoholic. I forgot about that until just now.
That's a very powerful self-delusion.
Oh yeah, no, I was definitely
Self-deception. Well, I guess either way it works.
yeah. I was definitely in denial about the whole thing. I was like, she's fine.
I could see that scale. Like, as long I'm 35, I can't be an alcoholic unless I'm 40. I'm 50, I can't be an alcoholic unless I'm 60.
We're just young and living.
Exactly. I'm 70 years old. I can't be an alcoholic till I'm dead.
Yeah. I was like, you're only getting blackout drunk 4 nights a week.
That's easy math. That's
yeah,
easy
there's like almost half a week there where you're fine.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's not. But so there was that, and then other drug dependencies. And I mean, we were together for like a year, and this one night, I was doing the same routine of carrying her out of the bar and putting her in my car and driving her home.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I was like, this is bad for me. Oh, actually, no. I had a conversation with her roommate. I forgot about this. And because I was like at my wit's end with it, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've tried to talk to her about it. I've tried to help her as much as I can.
She pulled you into her world. She pulled you down. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was there. I was drinking too. Like, I was drinking pretty heavily before I even met her, because I mean, I was 21 working in a bar. But I mean, it definitely got worse because we enabled each other. But
yeah.
I eventually, like, I remember this last night, it was particularly bad. I drove her home, put her in bed, and I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. And her roommate was like, you realize she's never going to get better as long as you're here, right?
Wow.
And I was like, what? And she was like, you are a safety net for her, and she knows that no matter what happens, you're just going to make sure she's okay.
Wow. Friend of the year, dude. She saw the picture. She saw the dynamic.
Yeah.
She saw the her using you, the chemical dependency. She saw it all. Wow.
She synced it.
Jeez.
And I was like, oh.
Good on her. That's amazing.
You are correct.
Oh.
And
yes.
so the next day, I went over and had a discussion, and I was like, we just can't do this anymore. So I handled it a lot better than the previous one that I was talking about. I actually had a conversation.
You didn't go leave Koroks filled with your special sauce in her house and then walk away with
that. Is one way to break up. I haven't done that in a while.
In a while. That was the old me.
Yeah, that was.
I send gift boxes with my special sauce in it now.
Amazon Prime, baby.
I even work for them, so I hand deliver my own sauce.
But so maybe happy ending. I think she's doing a lot better now.
Good.
Yeah,
that's very good. Yeah. Is she in any type of program or any halfway?
No, I really think that she just kind of removed herself from that situation, because she was an alcoholic for a while, like ever since high school, and definitely had a drug problem once she started getting into serving, like a lot of people fall into. But she stopped serving, at least in that area. This was like the this was like the cesspool of places to serve in Louisville, I believe, as far as a drug kingdom is. Like, it's you could pretty much have anything you wanted at any time. Like, there's always someone around that could get it for you. So
are you sure you didn't work for Scarface?
Oh yeah, no, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're like, no. I did.
No, Mr. Face was a pretty cool dude.
Mr. I would probably go by Mr. Face if my name was, if people colloquially referred to me as Scarface. I'd probably be like, Mr. Scar was my father. You shall call me Mr. Fisters Fosse.
But yeah, I think just her removing herself from that area in particular, and now she's not even serving anymore at all. So I think that she just kind of naturally got better.
Good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a good success story, because the one that I'm about to end on is not a success story.
Yet.
But yet.
Yeah.
That's very good, Kyle. Oh, that's amazing. I guess the reason I said earlier that she pulled you down is because you were like, and probably still are like me for a very long period of our life, that we kind of have white knight syndrome, broken wing syndrome, where we want to help those who we perceive cannot, or just don't have the wherewithal or don't have the means. And we just say, maybe we can use our involvement or our presence to
I can
benefit
fix
them.
This.
Exactly.
I don't have that problem. I can help you get over it.
Exactly. Like, no, I'm a strong person. I'm independent, and I care about you. I love you, and we're gonna get through this together. Little do we know that human relationships and the miasma of illness are so much more complex than that.
Yeah.
And yeah, chemical dependency is kind of a theme in my final one too. And I'm glad that she's doing better, because some people never do, and some people end up on the very opposite ends of things.
Yeah.
And so, do you have anything else to say about that?
No, that's it.
Nope. You hear that? That's the closing of the story.
Yeah.
So, okay. My final one is kind of the most, the big one for me personally, and then we'll kind of get into the resolution aspect of all of these things, and kind of what are some strategies to deal with this, and how to know if you're a toxic person. Ooh. What a terrible thing to figure out at the very end. We both turn out to be toxic people.
Where we actually end this by cutting each other out of our lives.
Kyle, I've realized after all these conversations that you are the reason that I'm as bad as I am.
Yeah,
so
we would be much better off without each other.
We're gonna record this, and we're gonna process it and upload it, and then we are done.
This is the finale.
We've
had a good run. Sorry, Mott's. Things were
sorry. Yeah. You're the one regret that we both have. So this story kind of follows me throughout my whole life. So I had this friend, and this individual came from a very unhappy home. There was abuse, there was chemical abuse, there was just anything you can imagine that goes wrong. And so when I was younger, I was drawn, because my family was so antithetically stable, even though it really wasn't. But from back then, I was drawn to kind of the darkness of that. I was really, because of my emo gothic and kind of alternative self. I felt like I was one with that, and I really wanted to be with people who had it worse than I, because I was like, I'm right there with you, even though I had no idea, as a unwitting ally. And so I had this individual friend, and I kind of took them under my wing for almost 15 years.
Jesus.
I maybe let's say 10. Let's say 10's more. It was somewhere between 10 and 15, but
okay.
You're like, all right, I have no concept of your timetable, so yeah, it works for me.
10 to 15, 30, whatever.
Tell your story, brother. So this individual and I put clothes on their back. I fed them. I gave them a place to sleep. We used to do really not great things. This individual used to convince me to rob stores with it. Not rob stores at like gunpoint, but like Walmart, like go to the back and steal a pack of T-shirts, or like steal a video game that wasn't.
How you steal a pack of T-shirts? Just throw it under your like hoodie?
Well, I'm not going to tell you the mastermind way to do that, because I don't want to encourage that type of felonious behavior.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you go back to where the bikes are and you rip them out of the packaging and you put them in your pockets.
Or you could fork up the 75 cents it costs at Walmart to buy a pack.
No. See, the problem was it wasn't the cost; it was the man in the system that we were kind of rebelling against. And I was somebody who wanted to rebel, and he was somebody who knew no other way, and that was his way or their way of rebelling. Sorry,
I think you can say gender.
Yeah, he was way of rebelling against kind of the hand that life had dealt in their perception of things. So. I should have known back then that things were not going to go well. And then over the course of our friendship, which became more, we were basically, I don't know how to, it's like we were closer than brothers, but we weren't lovers. Like there was there wasn't any intercourse or like anything sexual, but we basically like did everything together. Like we would go to the park. We would in some cases when we stayed at a friend's house, we would shower, we would he would just get in the shower with me sometimes, and I thought it was hilarious because that's we were just closer than brothers. But
you're just one level under intimate.
Yeah, just one, just one tiny if there had just been one off glance or one look, things could have turned out very different.
You're almost lover brothers.
You're pretty much lovers, brothers. Anyway, I love this person with all my heart, and I cared about them. I knew the awful hand that life had dealt, the family life, the just everything. And I saw the pathology in this person kind of grow and bloom into their relationships with, constantly cheating on people, constantly manipulating people, lying to people, their own family members. And, as we got older, this person tried to convince me to drive my car because they didn't have a vehicle to go steal from houses where people weren't in to sell it so they could make money. And obviously, every single time I heard any of these claims, I was like, no, this is illegal and it's terrible. We can just get a job. And this person, they kind of had that classic narcissistic, that sociopathic charisma and that self-image where they were like, oh, I don't want to work for that. Like, I will never give my time to anybody else. I am better than that. I'm going to take from people who work their whole lives. And they could never understand kind of the ironic, that they refused to work, but they would steal from other people who had to work just as hard, if not harder than them, to get the things they desire and they wanted. This story to kind of that's really the micro, like this tiniest version of the story that I can tell. But this person eventually, was the first person that got me to enjoy cannabis. Mm-hmm. And I was thankful of them. But then their journey didn't stop there. They kept going. And then this person got addicted to heroin. And they were married and they had several kids, and it eventually tore that apart, not to mention that they weren't a good mix, and it kind of happened on the fly. This person married this person after only knowing them went and left back from our state to another state on the other side of the continent after only knowing them for several weeks. Mm-hmm. So, very impulsive, very short range thinking. And so, so eventually this person became addicted to heroin, tried to go check into, had blown out all the veins on their arms and the legs, were shooting up in their neck, just absolutely terrible. And they eventually went to a rehab facility in another state. And, my kind of final straw for all of this was I was so worried about this person because I cared about them so much. And I eventually realized, especially during the final months of our relationship, that they were using me and enabling me to get to the city, because they lived outside of the city whenever they moved back from rehab, to get access to all these things. And my place was just the place to stay after they had already scored the drugs. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. And I realized that I had been lied to. This person disappeared for several weeks, didn't tell me where they were, and then they made up this big elaborate story about being in rehab, and their family came to see him, just fabricated the most, because I'm a very emotional person, obviously, and just really knew how to play every note out of me to get the response they wanted and to dismiss my feelings. It didn't validate anything. And, eventually, the last conversation we had was I said, you're a pathological liar, you're a sociopath, you're a narcissist, and you're a drug addict. And I love you so much. I love you to death, but you literally you're ruining, like, the happiest times I had for a long time was with that person. They were the funniest person I'd ever met. And that kind of created that opiate for me. Like, I just needed, even though, like we talked about earlier, kind of that abusiveness, like, even though they were using me and lying to my face for years and taking advantage of me, trying to manipulate me to do terrible things, even as I was refuting that and rejecting and pushing back against that, they had me there because they knew that I loved how funny they were, and they knew that they could get anything out of me as long as it wasn't illegal, and they could use me. And I had to kind of cut my own. I had to cut them out of my heart in order to do that. And it sucks. And I still think about that person. And like you said earlier, especially with people who are chemically dependent, I want nothing but good things for this person. I want them to find healing with their family, with their kids, with themselves. I want them to, I desperately want them to get into therapy. And that's the last thing I said was, until you go to therapy, for 6 months to a year, don't even reach out to me, because I know you're not going to be healed. And even then, assuming they have the diagnoses that I think they have, that's not going to be enough. It's going to be a lifelong thing for them to be in therapy to help, kind of curtail those very sociopathic and narcissistic tendencies. But yeah, I mean, that was something that I had to do because like we talked about before with my previous friend, seems like I really know how to pick them, huh? Seems like I just gravitate towards the best people.
I mean, you just know a lot of people is the thing.
Oh,
You got
that's true.
infinity friends, so
Aw.
there's gonna be a couple bad apples.
What a good throwback. Yeah, with infinity, that also, I wonder if infinity, there's finite amounts of a certain set of something, because that would make me feel better than there would be infinity bad apples.
Ooh. There's got to be like a subcategory of, well, I mean, I guess it depends on what infinity you're talking about. We will say yes.
Okay. We will say yes.
There's a finite amount of bad apples.
So yeah, I had to cut the ties there, and that was my way, because like I said, it makes you think back on everything, and the kind of long growing vine of our friendship, with all the flowers that represent memories. I mean, it kind of rotted from the most recent bloom all the way back to the base, and that ruins and invalidates years of my experiences with this person. And to feel like I've been manipulated and lied to because of this person's who they are fundamentally without getting help, just is terrible. And luckily, in business settings, other settings, you can detect that. And now that we've had these experiences, we're pretty good at detecting that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we're both much better equipped to kind of identify these things earlier now, because like we were saying, the longer the relationship lasts, the harder it is to cut that anchor so you can keep moving forward
and not drown
and not go under,
and
because that's not how anchors work.
Well, okay, I guess this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode.
That's okay.
Okay, I'm okay. Are you okay with that?
Dude, I'm just fine with that.
Okay. Are you okay out there, audience, with that?
Sweet.
Great.
It's going to be a double episode.
It's going to be a double episode.
Strap in, y'all.
So the next portion I wanted to talk about is how to know if you're a toxic person. And I didn't do any research on this beforehand. I'm just going to go off my own anecdotal experiences and what my education and professional career has kind of taught me. I don't know if you've done any. If you have any research that anything you've looked into.
What, identifying if you're a toxic person? Nope.
All right.
I've looked in the mirror.
Oh, you have your David Goggins accountability mirror?
Yeah. It doesn't say anything about toxicity on any of those sticky notes, so I guess I'm good.
That's good. Sticky note number 1, stop being toxic to people.
Oh, no.
I did it again. So I think that, and I think that's the bit we laughed about this as we were writing this episode, like, what if we turn out to be the toxic people? What if we turn out to be the terrible people that other people are actually rational?
You're like, oh, thank God they dropped us.
It's like a Black Mirror episode. Like we were talking about how other people are bad, and at the very end, we're like in a bubble, and like everyone else is pointing and laughing at us, strapped into these machines, projecting our own consciousness because we're terrible examples of toxicity. So I don't know. I think how to know if you're toxic. Well, you probably. I feel like, if we're talking about toxicity as it pertains to diagnoses, you probably know.
Yeah,
I would say. Maybe.
I don't know. Because, I could definitely see being in denial about it.
Yeah.
But, do you think that, for example, the last person you were talking about was aware that they were just using you and didn't really...
They would mention things about their relationships, and they would say, John, I'm just using this person. I don't care about them. I don't love them. And they would cry because of how devastated they were that they were ruining their lives.
Oh, well, in that case, then yes, that person knew.
Yeah.
And maybe that person was in denial about using you that way. But
okay. I think in reflection they probably knew. I think that it bled over, like it was like mostly a friendship that they got what they wanted out of it due to my kindness, but then it also became, okay, I know I can get John to do XYZ because of our relationship. So I'm going to just play the relationship card. You know what occurs to me as we're talking about this is like if you have that kind of toxic mindset more, and I don't think we ever operationally define, I think we did at the beginning a little bit, but if you have that toxicity, you probably perceive that everyone else thinks that way, like that everyone has these interactions with other people, and that maybe colors your perception of how you're supposed to interact with people. It's like if you think that everything is a zero-sum game and that you can't win unless somebody else loses, and you think that everyone else thinks that way, that probably creates a pretty big situation where you are anticipating falsely what a lot of other people's intentions are. And so I don't know, maybe they do, or maybe they just think that's how everybody is. I don't know. I wish I knew more about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the rule of thumb is if you are finding, I don't know, I think maybe it'd be great to take an inventory of your interactions with people. And if the majority of those do not result in a mutual beneficial exchange of information, of kindness, of love, of friendship, and you tend to be absorbing, you need things from everybody and you keep them around because you need them, or you need their status, or you need their objects, or you need them. I think that you're probably from from their perception, you're taking and you're probably exuding that toxicity.
Yeah, I guess if you think of your friendship with someone else as you're getting this out of it, instead of, just base friendship.
Yeah. Yeah. If friendship is anything other than I enjoy your company.
Yeah.
And I know that's difficult because in like professional business relationships, like you may become friends with people, but mostly it's because I'm friends with you because you said that in 5 years I'll get your job, or you're going to train me to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So I know, but I think specifically as this pertains to into social interpersonal relationships, I would agree. It definitely.
Also, I think that you kind of turn out the way you are based on all your experiences and relationships before. So, maybe if you grew up in a very toxic environment like this person did that you were just talking about, there's a good chance that is also how you act, and you might not even know it.
Yeah, I know, and I love that you think that way because I think that's very true. Your learning history and your access to resources, your very early life experiences of how do people interact with each other. I really think that does codify your social kind of algorithm for how you interact and interface with other people for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like my parents have done social work and psychological practice, so I get a lot of information from them regarding like people can change and people are willing to look at themselves and see the kind of that toxic thorn and pull it out through going through that therapy. But I also think there's just as many people. So what's really interesting, and this is kind of tangential, is that so there's a great book by Adrian Raine called The Anatomy of Violence, and he does brain scans, and he's a criminologist. He does brain scans on all these these perpetrators of homicides in different prisons. And he finds out that the two main factors that dictate antisocial personality disorder, or like apathy towards humanity, like misanthropy as it's called, is a low resting heart rate and impulse control. So what that means is that most things that make you feel that oxytocin, that dopamine, that serotonin release, they don't feel. So the only time that they would ever get that charge is if someone's screaming, or if they're doing something they know is wrong, or if they're attacking somebody, or if they, so the only time they usually become thrill chasers, they become adrenaline junkies. And the second thing is impulse control, which is they are not like, if somebody, like if they come home and they see their wife in bed with another man, instead of being like, okay, hold on, what's going on here? They immediately assume they know exactly, which, in that case, it's may not be the best example. I mean, they're not playing chess.
Like, hold on, let's talk this out.
Yeah. But they are the ones that tend to respond emotionally. And those are the two kind of homicidal categories he draws. That there are contemplative murderers that think about the thing, and then there's reactive murders that do it just because of the crime of passion. And so that with that information, it makes me think again that these people may realize that something's different about themselves, or that they don't feel the same relationship, their warmth that they should be feeling. But in order to continue to hold up their status in their head in society, in order to continue to move forward, they have to get really good at playing that game. They get really good at charisma, and they get really good at making people feel good and feeding and being joking and happy all the time and having this larger than life personality. But when you drill down into it, they're miserable and they're lonely and they can't have decent human relationships. There's no oxytocin, which is the chemical that makes you feel fondness and love for somebody. That they just don't feel that outside of really extraordinary circumstances. So it makes me think that some people do, but they are just biologically unable. And again, if you mix that with, like you said, their life where they don't feel comfortable going to therapy, they don't feel comfortable getting help, then they just like, well, this is how it is. And this is just life. I'm fine, and I'll just make it work.
This is how everyone is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or exactly. It's so I mean the final thing here. So how do you know if you're a toxic person?
You don't.
You don't. Is that what the conclusion of this conversation, if this segment is that you just don't know?
I mean, I don't know. Ask around.
Yeah, ask people if they enjoy being around you. There you go. That's a good one. Do you enjoy my company? And if there's any hesitation or any subtle facial tick that indicates they're thinking of what they're supposed to say, it's probably not. It's probably you're going to want to listen very closely.
Yeah, think about your close friends and figure out who the toxic one is, and if none of them are, it's you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Shine that mirror on everybody, and if nobody has a reflection, make sure you look in that mirror too. You might be the social vampire.
Probably not. I feel like if you literally just asking the question if you're a toxic person, it means that you care enough about not being a toxic person that you're probably not a toxic person.
That's a really good point. I definitely know that I feel like I've been toxic to people over the course of my life, whether it's professionally or business. I know I used to be, was what my parents called me, an evangelical atheist because I wanted everybody to convert to atheism, but I don't feel that way anymore. But I definitely think that I was kind of obnoxious and toxic to people because of my own agenda. And I've definitely grown out of that and become more loving and understanding of all the different multitudinous perceptions of reality that people have. But yeah, I think that, I don't think that toxicity is necessarily like a static state that you just stay in.
Yeah.
I think that we can kind of, based on life and developmentally and what we're going through, we can kind of slip into and out of that. So yeah, so what's the solution to dealing with toxicity? Well, we kind of talked a lot about it via anecdotes and our own experiences, but I mean, I kind of have like a multi-step plan. My first one is to try to make that person aware of that, assuming that it's not like a superior that is just going to, squish you down like a bug if you try to raise up because of their own insecurities. Hopefully you have a leader or supervisor that's willing to listen to your concerns, which is a mark of a good leader. Yeah. And if that doesn't work, my next thing is to try to distance myself from them after communicating that directly and honestly. And if my distancing and they continue to toxify my life and poison things, my last step, like we've talked about, like is the namesake of the episode, you just got to cut that anchor. I've done that multiple times over my life, and I've only talked about the most high profile. There's other people that it's never fun. It's never something you want to come to the conclusion of. Why would you want to score off a section of your own heart in order to continue living? It sucks. It's awful. It's like removing a biological, metaphorical, it's like removing the physical manifestation of those experiences and that love and that time you put into them and just throwing it into the void. Yeah. It sucks.
It does. I'm going to steal your plan. I like that. I was going to say basically just communicate how you feel. And if things don't change, cut that anchor.
And I would expect defensiveness from people, because people don't like, and they'll probably do what's called cross-tracking, which is where they'll bring up your faults. Yeah. But if after several conversations, they're unable to, if they don't care enough about you, to be introspective and to learn and to kind of see your perception. And then, I just think that unfortunately at that time in their life, they're not open to that. Yeah. And that can be okay. Sometimes relationships heal, family relationships heal. People will go decades without seeing an estranged brother or family member. They'll make it work whenever they're in a different developmental or life stage. It's not the end at the current time, but maybe sometimes it has to be for now.
Yeah. And if they do the whole cross-tracking thing, if you're able to admit your faults, you can be like, okay, let's both fix these together and make this relationship work for both of us. Or maybe it's best that we mutually distance.
Ooh, that's really good. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that shows a vulnerability on your side to be like, I did mess up there. Or I did say that I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I've told you I'm sorry. It definitely is more, it's not a monologue. It's not it's not just you spitting invectives at them, and it's not you drowning them in why you think they should change. It's a dialogue. It's, hey, I had this experience. Can you tell me what you were thinking and what was going on there? And if you start to see that pattern, one, as my dad always says, anecdotes don't make data. But when you get enough anecdotes, they become a pattern, and then you have your data line. So, if you do that several times, and you start to see that there's no change, then maybe they're just not at the point in their lives where they need to be.
Yeah.
This is probably a really late time for a disclaimer to say, like, I am not a perfect person.
Hell no.
And I've been very toxic, at different points in my life. And this is in no way to condemn or to make anyone, to scare anyone or make anyone feel is inferior that they have some undiagnosed issue or anything. It's really just, I think this is an important topic because toxicity can really ruin more than just your relationship. When you let that people in, that energy stops you and you get stuck on it, you ruminate on it, you think about them, all the things you should have said, you play out these endless scenarios in your mind of all the things that you should have said to them. And ultimately there's that what a lot of people say is that gives them power over you, which I agree. But I think the more helpful way to look at that is that you are no longer living in that moment and you're no longer progressing. And you're just kind of stuck.
Yeah. I don't believe that either one of us are inherently better people than any of the people we talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I mean, like I brought up before, I firmly believe that we're all just we all turn out the way we do based on what we've lived through. So I mean, I believe that if you were switched at birth with the person that you were just talking about,
I would have been the same.
Yeah.
I would have had the same.
And you want to say, no, I wouldn't do that. I would have said no to heroin. But if you went through every single thing that they did and ended up in that same exact spot with all of your previous experiences, you would have done what they did.
Let me play the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Are you talking about if I was born genetically from the parents,
yes,
or if I was just switched at birth and like the best?
Genetically from the parents.
Okay. Yes. Correct.
Yes.
Because genetics. That plays a lot more.
What I'm saying is if you believe in the soul or whatever your consciousness is, if your consciousness was put into their body, you'd be exactly the same way. And if their consciousness was switched with yours, I'd be sitting here doing a podcast with that consciousness.
That's very wise, Kyle. It's very true.
That's how I don't hate people.
I really need some more of that kind of that yoga, that service that you have, that you project. I love that.
I gotcha.
Wow, what an episode.
That was a good one.
What a concept.
I think.
What a concept.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to end on that disclaimer to say that we're really speaking from our own experiences and anecdotes. We're not better than anyone. We're not inferior or superior. We're all people, and we all make mistakes. We're the product of our genetics, mostly, with the environment secondarily. That's been pretty squarely settled. And I can reference some books if you'd like in the comments. But, so we really are just like, and I love that you say that, because the learning history and the experience, the growth, the developmental stages, the people you grew up with, the friends you have play a lot of it too in high school and that developmental adolescent stage. And it's true. I could just as easily be, burned out, blowing out veins in some other state and, nothing going right for me. And, I could be born with a different mindset with different neurological modules and chemistry and brain mass, like AJ and Rain. They have different gray matter in different areas of their brain, which results in smaller sizes of different portions, which has downstream behavioral effects. So it's very true. Who am I to say? Who's to say?
You beat me to it. I was going for it.
Well, I can't think of like a funny outro. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Have a good one.
We'll see you next week. Hopefully this was meaningful and not terrifying.
Yeah, comment, like, subscribe, send questions to the comments at Savage Discourse Podcast.
Please do.
Yeah.
Savage Podcast. Savage Discourse.
Jeez.
Oh, my God, dude.
Just said it.
Savage Discourse Podcast at gmail.com. Please leave comments below. If you want us to talk about anything specifically, leave us a comment or send us an email.
I got to pee.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.